All right, guys, what's going on? We are back for Discussion Lounge. We got another Wandavision talk episode. We have another new guest. His name is Matt. I have met Matt through the cover band universe that's out there here in the LA area. He plays guitar for Toxicity, Misery Business, and what's the name of the Fallout Boy cover band?
It's not very original. It's Far Out Boy.
Oh,
And
Far Out Boy.
for the record, I did not come up with that name. I just want to throw that out there. But yes, we are a tribute to Fall Out Boy called Far Out Boy.
Yeah. Everybody out there, as soon as shows start going, you guys should definitely check them out. We've performed with them before. Actually, before the COVID whole thing went down, we performed with them at the Slide Bar, and that was a really super show. They actually performed the entire album of Toxicity front to back. Yeah, it was lit. So Matt, welcome, man. Good to have you.
Thank you guys for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So we're gonna get into this, man. I did a reaction to it, and I stayed up like always, 12 a.m. and I just went into the video. I didn't even really talk. It was hard to react to because I just want to be quiet and just listen to everything, and I don't want to talk through it, but you kind of have to react so that YouTube doesn't strike your damn video down. So but I want to share my reaction just because it's nothing like I've ever seen before. It's nothing like I thought was gonna happen. Everyone got thrown for a loop, right? Everyone was looking for clues everywhere for stuff that they wish they could see. None of that ended up happening, but it was still like an amazing ending, and it's still in question that might happen, right? So there was still so much stuff that was left open, and that's leading into all the stuff that's coming in from the Disney MC universe. So yeah, I just want to know, man, like I want to kick it off with Hector, dude. How did you feel about just the series itself as a whole, and were you satisfied?
Last question, was I satisfied? I was not, because I think my imagination led me down this rabbit hole like it did so many, about like mutants, being brought in, Mephisto, who's pulling the strings, all these theories that were out there that were the prevailing theories of the show. And I think that it didn't allow me to fully appreciate the show at the moment. Now, looking back at it, I think it's an amazing show on its own. I think that it's well put together, it's well written. Like I told you before, we got to see a side of Wanda that we've never seen, or we actually finally getting to know her just a little bit, right? And her motives, right? She just, like everyone else, man, she just wants a family. She wants a house, she wants to grow old, she wants a family, just like all of us, the American dream, right? Or just the dream in general, just have everything cool. That's all she ever wanted. All she ever wanted was to be normal, and never in her life has she ever had that chance. And now that she did, she tried to preserve it by any means necessary. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good show.
If you ever thought it was gonna be like the way it was,
no. So for the same reasons of me going off, some tangent with all these other ideas. I didn't think it was gonna end the way it did, or it was gonna culminate the way it did. But the takeaway for me is that they're just setting up like a backstory. This is an origin story, basically, which is a weird feeling because, like I said, we've had her around for quite a while, but we didn't really get to know her, and now we got to know her, and we see the backstory, and I think that's great. I said it before. Disney is using this show to kind of illuminate a lot of things that they can do on screen due to time constraints and maybe budget or any other kind of stuff, right? So yeah.
Before I kick it over to Gio, let's hear from our guest Matt. Matt, man, like I know you and I were texting, back and forth as soon as the episodes were over. Yeah, were you satisfied? Did you want more? What's going on with you?
Oh man, I've been ever since I watched that episode. I'm talking about the finale specifically. I was like, bruh, like I need to get on with Alan and his dudes to talk about this, because for me, I'm an MCU completionist, right? Like I've seen every single movie. I've watched them in chronological order. I've watched them in release order. So I feel like I have a really good understanding of the universe as itself. And specifically with WandaVision, I really feel like this show, even if you had never seen anything in the MCU, right?
Mm-hmm.
This show was that good. I really feel that this show could stand alone by itself. For somebody that has never seen anything leading up to it, they could have been like, that's how well written, like Hector was saying. That's how well written the show was.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I just feel like having all the previous knowledge about the universe itself and having gone down those same rabbit holes that Hector was referring to, the Mephisto side, and we're talking about the X-Men crossover and, is Mr. Fantastic going to appear, like, going down those holes. I think that was really part of the experience as a whole. You know what I mean? And I envision Kevin Feige just sitting back like this, like, yeah, motherfuckers, what? Like, he had everybody just, like, on the edge of their seat the entire time. It's not like anything that I've watched in the MCU up to this point. And it was just, I thought it was brilliant. I really did.
Gio, man, get in on this, dude. Were you satisfied? What did you think? With just the layers and layers of the show? How did you feel?
So I thought the whole show was great. It was definitely off to a good start for like post Endgame stuff, right? That's coming out for shows. I never really got. Well, first of all, so the show was really unique, right? It was meta in a way. It was like self-referential to like TV shows and other types of media, right, that are coming out with like the introduction of Quicksilver from the X-Men, right, like halfway through the show, and like you can tell that the writers were aware that the audience are going to feed off of that, and it's all like referencing like the overall like universe. And also, I don't know if you guys saw the teaser for the new Spider-Man movie, No Way Home.
Yeah.
Right, it was like the actors coming out of the studio of the office and be like, "Oh, we got this movie going on," right? Like it's like, so it seems like Marvel is doing this more like meta kind of like self-referential. We understand that we've been making movies for like 10 years, and now we're like, let's have more fun with it and be more experimental with it. And that was really cool about one.
Did you see at the end of that thing there was like a board, like a vision board with all like the names that they were maybe gonna use, and within that board there was just all these hints of what's coming next. Now that they've created this world, they could insert all these things over here because there's like, how old is the MC, like the actual Marvel comics, right? They've been going on since like the 60s or something like that, the 70s maybe. So there's content on top of content that they could just pull from, and they just do whatever they want with, man. And the way that they got all this stuff for WandaVision, it's just, man, just the Easter egg channels out there for WandaVision. It's like, oh, here's like 150 things that you might have missed, and it's like, oh my god, I didn't even think that was going down like that, right? So yeah, Gio just saying that just the meta of it all is there's just so much content now that they can do that, right? They've been doing this for almost 15 years now, right? Like it's insane. So yeah, let's talk about the appearance of White Vision, because that's really where like the next huge event, right? Because they're fighting on the street. That's how the episode ends. Blah blah blah. Powers are going back and forth, right? And then White Vision makes an appearance, and his job is to destroy Wanda and Vision. The insane part of all of this is to even think about bringing like White Vision into this scenario, right? And you're like, how is this gonna end, right? Because you see them fighting back and forth, and it's a stalemate. Like, bro, it's Vision. Like, you're not gonna be Vision. Like, so they're going at it, and I really want to talk about just how dope it was that this ended in a thought experiment. I think that we could have a good time with that. The ship of Theseus, right? This is, I'm sure, something that you loved about the show. Tell me how dope you thought that was. Break it down.
Yeah. So usually you have a confrontation in these type of movies, right, where they just like annihilate each other, and it's just like a physical conflict. But in this case, it was like, let me offer you a thought, you and think about it and see where that takes you, and then that's the resolution of the conflict. I don't know if everybody would be into that, but I was really into that, right? So the ship of Theseus, right, is it's a thought experiment, like one of the oldest ideas in philosophy, um, dating back to the ancient Greeks. They basically the idea is that you have a ship that over time you replace a piece of it, right? Like let's say the wood starts rotting and you take off a plank, you put another plank, right? And you do that for years and years, right? And over time, at some point, the ship is no longer going to be made of the same material as the original ship, right? So is that still the original ship? Is the question.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what does that have to do with like humans? Like how are we built? Right, because we are exchanging cells like constantly. Our cells are dying, right? And I've read that it takes like 7 years for all your cells to be recycled, right? So you're no longer composed of the same material that you were like 10 years ago. So then, are you still the same person, right? And then it goes into like what happens when you upload someone's mind to a computer, right? The ideas behind that and all those science fiction concepts.
Yeah, like so like if you do that, like is that you now, right? Like or what
Right.
is you, right? You know, like in essence. Hector, you're the masters in philosophy. What do you think?
I loved it. Yeah, like the fact that you know what, like it. I think this is the first time we see Vision finally able to resolve something without fighting. Because typically, you know, he gets pulled in by the Avengers or whatever conflict is going on, and I feel like he's forced to fight. I know he doesn't want to fight, right? I think when he was first born or created in Age of Ultron, he said that he's not on anyone's side, right? He's not
Right.
trying to fight for a cause. He's not trying to fight, period.
Right.
But he says that, you know, Ultron has to be stopped. So he understood that part. But going back to, you know, the thought experiment that he presented to White Vision, when you said that it was a stealth, when you're watching that video, you know, I saw that you were watching your reaction. You said, yes, it's a stalemate. I'm like, dude, yeah, like these guys are just gonna keep fighting and fighting and fighting for life. Nothing's gonna happen. So I think this was Vision's only chance of not defeating White Vision, but more like using the fact that he is like this, you know, an artificial intelligence that's self-adjustable, that's able to self-learn, and had one simple program, right? It started with one simple program, you know, seek and destroy, right? But he knew that, you know, the AI is intelligent enough to adapt, right, and question things. So he hit him with that one, and that was just, I mean, that was great. I loved it too personally because that was one of my predictions that Vision was gonna somehow put himself or a part of himself into White Vision, and you know he did, right? He put his memories
Right.
in him so they could live on, or in a sense they could be active, you know, past the, you know, once the hex gets destroyed. So now he's out there, and then, you know, I could just imagine when, you know, him and Wanda meet again, like how like it's gonna be like this awkward but at the same time familiar feeling, you know, for her,
Right.
and for him too. Now that he has these memories of Vision, but yeah, so you know that was great. You know, finally, you know, some philosophy in, you know, shows.
Right. Matt, what did you think about that?
Oh man. I think first, I watched Age of Ultron yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, just to see kind of parallels, what I could pull from there, and from WandaVision. And I thought it was interesting that Ship of Theseus conversation that Memory Vision, WandaVision, and White Vision have is kind of the same. It's shot in a way that's the same conversation that Vision had with Ultron in that church. It was just really interesting. I saw the parallel there. But as far as the actual, I called it a transfer of consciousness, which is something that has happened recurrently in the comics with Vision, right? Like his mind gets wiped and somehow his consciousness is transferred back. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel like Memory Vision did for White Vision. It's like, look, you know, you have these memories. They're in there. All we need to do is learn how to access them. You know what I mean? So I think that was just it was really cool because it was in a way Wanda's version of Vision, the memory of Vision. He knew that he was not gonna exist. That was his way of saying, I know that I'm not gonna be here anymore. But you, White Vision, still have the opportunity to come back in some form. And it's just really weird that we don't know as of right now where White Vision ended up. He gets all these memories, and then he's like, okay, see ya, bye, and then takes off and shoots off into the sky, and we don't know what happens from here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I absolutely love the fact that, like Gio said, everything always ends like in this huge battle that, destroys half the city. And, Vision is recognizing that, there's what they can't destroy each other because they know what each other's gonna do. They have the same powers. I have to try something else, right? It's such a dope thought experiment, right? Because is it the same thing? Are you the same thing? If you have my memories, if you have, if you're made out of the same thing, are you the same thing, right? So what happens to White Vision when he's being transferred all of these memories and he leaves? Is it that he needs to process this? Does he leave, or he's like, yo, now that I have all these memories, like, I don't really want to be with Wanda, or did something change like within that scenario that made him not want to stay and help, to save Wanda? Because that could have been something that he could have done, right? Right. He didn't, but like Matt, like you said, this was all foreshadowing from the true Vision, knowing that Wanda's gonna make the right choice and she's going to break this hex down, right? Because that's really the only option that she's going to be left with. So for me to somehow exist outside of this hex, this is what I'm gonna do. Yeah, man, it was an amazing way to end that fight, right? And even in Ultron, right, we don't really know what he did. He could have transferred all of Ultron into himself, like one of these Easter egg channels like that I watched theorize that maybe that's what Vision did. Like the only way to destroy Ultron was to consume all of his AI, right? So, and he was talking to him, right, to letting him know, like, yo, however you feel about humans, like, nah, they're more than that, they're more than what you think. So he was trying to talk him out of doing that, right? Gio, what's up?
Yeah, so I had a question about how Vision came back. Like, was the Mind Stone recreated by Wanda? Because it looks like she had an encounter with it at some point, right? Mm-hmm. So was it recreated? Because at the end of Endgame, we know that the stones are all destroyed, right? Thanos destroyed all the stones, so the Mind Stone has been destroyed. So where did that come from? Did she recreate it? Did she like emulate it? Like what was that about? And then also, like, it may not matter because it was already established in Infinity War that they were going to remove the Mind Stone from Vision, right, and keep his consciousness intact. So that maybe that doesn't even matter. But the fact that he had the Mind Stone on him the whole time, and there was a reference to the Mind Stone, that was kind of interesting. So I had questions about that, and I was like, where's that going, or what is that about?
Does anybody want to answer that? Matt, you want to get into that?
Oh man, can I please?
Yes, go ahead, man.
Okay, so I had the same questions, right? And I think this was one of mine and Alan's side conversations in that, okay, how is it that all of a sudden we have a walking, talking Vision with the Mind Stone right in the middle of his head, right? Because we're trying to go over the Infinity War and Endgame timeline, knowing that the Mind Stone has been destroyed, right, by Thanos, right? Okay, so the only places that we know it could exist are in alternate realities, right? Or alternate timelines, I should say. But then it was probably episode 6, 7 when we finally find out that when Wanda and Pietro were doing their Hydra experiments, right? The scepter is what housed the Mind Stone. Mm-hmm. Okay, and Wanda's experience with that Mind Stone gave her some of its power. And that is the way that she was able to create Vision, because she says at the end in the finale, in her monologue with Vision, that you are the part of the Mind Stone that lives within me. And the way that she came to inherit that was that experience with Loki's scepter, through the Hydra experience. So.
Right, yeah, and it wasn't that she took the complete stone, right? Because
Right.
they just fast forwarded and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" Like the thing was still lying there, right? So, like we said, it just could have been a vision that she had, something in her because she was chosen to be the Scarlet Witch. Something happened there, and she had the power of the Mind Stone, and that predates what happened in Endgame and Infinity War, right? So,
Right.
she had this experience along before that. So I was cool with it. It all made sense. It didn't, but then it did when we talked about it, when we chatted about it. But she had this experience with the Mind Stone. It's part of her. It's part of her now, and she can do these amazing things with it now. And that's how she was able to recreate Vision. But to be able to recreate Vision, I think is just a combination, right, of the Mind Stone with the powers of being the chosen one, which is the Scarlet Witch, right? Heezy, you want to get in on this?
Yeah, just a little bit, just to kind of reiterate what you guys were saying, or kind of like piggyback off it. I don't think there's enough there for us to go too crazy with it. I think it's fair to say that the Mind Stone is gone in this timeline. It doesn't exist anymore, right? Thanos destroyed it, and the one that they used, it went back to his original timeline. It was just basically like within the hex. I remember talking about it, like within the hex, like he does exist, and yeah, there is such thing as the Mind Stone within the hex. But the minute he tries to leave, and we saw that, he just starts to falling apart, right? He starts to fall apart. He's no longer Vision, or at least the sense of how we see him within the hex. So he can't exist in reality. He only exists within the hex. So yeah, I'm sure the Mind Stone obviously is there, is present. I think even White Vision tried to grab it off him, right? Like he tried to Thanos that out of him, but he just he disappeared. I mean, he did his little ghost thing and went through him.
Right.
Yeah, he phased. So I mean, yeah. So it's. I think that it's fair to say that it exists as far as being in the hex, but outside of it, we don't have enough evidence, and we don't really know, or we don't have enough info to say that. It's not impossible, but I don't think that. I feel like Marvel is not going to pursue this, because I think we're past that. Like the last 10 years was dedicated to the stones, and now we're moving on to something greater or bigger or different.
As far as the situation going on upstairs with Quicksilver and with Monica, right? This is the only letdown that I have, right? Quicksilver was not part of the finale as we thought, right? He's such a powerful character. He can do so much, but it turns out he's not Quicksilver. He's this boner dude, and who was an actor who lives in Westview. I don't know. The whole thing was kind of weird to me, confusing. I still kind of don't get it. I guess it was just because they could do it. I don't know. Because it didn't really make a huge difference at the end, right? So that was my only real complaint. But the thing that was revealed within that scene that I thought was interesting was that you can see that Monica can see every type of energy that you can throw at her, right? She looks at the necklace that is around Quicksilver's neck, and she sees the energy that Agnes has put on it, so whatever
right.
Spell or whatever, and she's just able to clip it off him and be like, oh, okay, I can see what this is. So I don't think people understand yet that Monica in the comic books is Captain Marvel at one point. So she is a huge character. She has mad powers, as you can see. Fucking Hayward shoots at kids. I don't know what the fuck this guy's thinking, but this fool just fucking unloads a clip to 2 kids, bro. And he's like, fuck these kids. Clack, 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 clack. Right? And
Metaphysical kids, though, so I think it passes.
Fuck no, bro. If how does he know? He doesn't know that they're kids. Actually, yeah, he does know
That
because
is true.
he's watching, right?
Well-
They're watching the thing. They were watching, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't know if they can exist outside the hex, if they were actually born, like if they were real. Nobody really knew, right? So he could have fucking shot at some fucking real kids. And Monica steps in front. She does something happens to her body where I don't think she knew that was gonna happen. To be honest, she was gonna take those bullets regardless. So she goes in there, she jumps in, and the bullets just slide through her. They fall, and then you see Wiccan catch one basically, and it just falls to the ground like Neo in the Matrix.
Right.
So these kids, and then Speed is taking care of the entire military that's around, and he does it like in a split second, just like his uncle Quicksilver. So yeah, that's all exciting. What do you guys think about Monica? Like, and are you guys excited to see what's gonna happen with her and Captain Marvel?
Yeah. Okay. So Monica, she was. I don't know if I kind of liked her, but then I didn't like her. She made some throughout the show. She made some questionable decisions. Like when she first came up to the hex, she without obviously some crazy shit is happening right here, but she goes ahead and touches it and gets sucked in, right? And I don't know if any reasonable person would do that in reality.
Well, Monica already knew that she had powers.
Did she?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Because if you think
was
about
that
it,
in the show?
right, when she walks in with Hayward in the episode like 3 or 4 or whatever like that, she was doing missions in space. Like that's what she was doing, and he's like, "Yo, like we have to ground you now." And then she's like, "Well, I don't want to do no fucking Earth shit, whack." Right? So she was already kind of like in the space whole thing because she was working with Sword before the blip. Yeah. Right. So and then you see kind of the whole interaction where they're talking about Captain Marvel, and she's like, man, fuck Captain Marvel. Kind of she has some beef. So she's interacted with Captain Marvel. She's had some experience up there. We don't know what, which we're probably gonna know in Captain Marvel too. But yeah, even when they take her X-rays, right? She's like, it doesn't really, whatever. Nobody cares about my X-rays. Like she's kind of trying to rush the process, and she's like, you don't need to take any more tests on me. I'm good. She already knew. She and that's why she was testing. She was testing it.
So is that established in the movie, in Captain Marvel, the movie?
No, she's this is good to lead into Captain Marvel too. Yeah, and the Captain Marvel 1, she's just a child.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I didn't get at all that she was super powerful. Like I didn't see at all throughout the show that she was. I thought she was a normal person with a military background or something. But the idea that she had superpowers, it didn't register with me.
Yeah, even her surviving what Wanda did to her to get her out of the hex. Bro, she put her through 4 walls. And
that is a little weird.
And
I thought that was plot armor, but all right.
Yeah, but then she defended Wanda, saying that she protected me when she did it. Nah, bullshit. You have powers. And when we watch the Easter egg stuff, right? We see that when she tries to go into the hex in the machine thing, she just blows the hatchet open with one hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Powers. And that was before she walked into the hex and turned into Spectrum or Captain Marvel or Photon or whatever they're gonna call her. Right, because she's gone through a bunch of names in the MCU. Somebody else talk.
If she didn't have powers and she could just easily walk into the hex, Hayward and those guys would have done it a long time ago.
Yeah, somebody would have tried it, right? Somebody would have tried it and been like, "Oh, we can't go in there." But she was like, and she was probably just testing whatever it is she had experienced up in whatever mission made her powerful or whatever. But yeah, from what I think she already knew that she had something going on. Matt, go ahead.
Getting back to the original question as far as what I thought about Monica specifically, I thought of all the rabbit holes and all the tangents that all of us probably went on. The fact that really the big character intro of this whole thing is Monica, right? Whether she takes on Spectrum or Photon or whoever they make her, right? Mm-hmm. Because she is going to have a role moving forward with Captain Marvel 2, obviously, I would think. Because does she really have a place in Doctor Strange 2? Does she really have a place? It seems like the logical place for her to be especially with the ending where she has that meeting with that scroll. Obviously, she's going back up into space, right? And that's kind of Captain Marvel's domain. So I think for what it was, the intro to Photon was kind of cool.
What about the Quicksilver stuff? Were you let down?
Yes, I was severely let down. I thought that the revelation that the X-Men crossover that we thought was just some guy named Boner, like that was a really big letdown for me, because I feel like they teased it so hard for like 3 episodes, right? Like this is Quicksilver, this is Pietro, and it just wasn't. Like, his culminating scene is, in his room playing acoustic guitar with Monica. I mean, come on, that was a letdown. I think really the only one that I can think of the series itself is probably the way that they chose to end that arc for Quicksilver. So
Gio or Hector.
Hector, go for it.
Yeah. I was disappointed at how they utilized, or how poorly they utilized Quicksilver towards the end, especially like the last couple of episodes. My other prediction was that it was going to be sort of like this 3-way fight, right? You were going to have, Agatha versus Wanda, right? Naturally, and then you're going to have Vision versus Vision naturally, and then the odd ones out were Monica and Quicksilver. And since Quicksilver was being sort of possessed by the necklace, I thought that to some extent, he was going to fight against Monica until Monica kind of defeats him, and then we have him like kind of wake up and be like, oh snap, but I mean, I wanted to see action from the beginning. I knew I wasn't going to get it in this show. That little bit that we got at the end was good enough for me, but I wanted more. That scene earlier, before the climax, like a couple episodes before, when Monica told Wanda that I'm not scared of you, I was like, let's go. Show me that you're not scared, and let's throw hands, at least for like a couple of seconds, just to kind of like tell us like, okay, right? But I think Marvel is just trying to like suppress Monica for now, because she's gonna play a bigger role, moving forward, with I think Miss Marvel, and then leading up to Captain Marvel 2. So based on this, I anticipate and I will hope that we see a lot more from her and her powers moving forward. And if not, then it'll be kind of like a double letdown.
Yeah,
the first one is a pass, because like I said, it's not about her. This show is not about her, so I get that part. But moving forward, you gotta show us. You gotta show us like explain everything basically. And I think it's gonna revolve, like the future is gonna kind of go back to the past a little bit. And I think the connection is gonna make sense later down the road.
Yeah, I think that they made a lot of effort to introduce us to Monica. I mean, they made it a point throughout the entire series, right? So, like you were saying, Hector, like, you better show us. Okay, you made her a focal point to some extent throughout the series. Where does it go from here? You know what I mean? And naturally, she's going to play a role. I didn't even think about Miss Marvel. Her having that's going to be a D+ series as well, right? Didn't they confirm? Yeah. So yeah, she fits there, and obviously with Captain Marvel too.
I think she's actually getting a movie, or I think she's getting a movie.
Who is Marvel?
Miss Marvel. Yeah. I don't think it's a series. I think it might be a movie. I have to double check that. But yeah, Hector, to respond to your thing about your letdown with the fight between Monica and Wanda, I think that it kind of would have been a little sketch to see like both of their powers like immediately like grow, because they both kind of don't know what they can do yet, right? Wanda doesn't know she's the Scarlet Witch. Wanda just got her Spectrum or Photon. Monica just got her powers completely revealed when she walked through the hex. So they kind of they don't know what they're doing, right? And then you have the Agnes situation, and she's trying to tell Wanda, like, Wanda, this is how powerful you are. You're more powerful than the Emperor, like the Supreme. What do you call it?
Right. The Sorcerer
The
Supreme.
Sorcerer Supreme. Thank you. So I think that would have been like just too much of a scramble, and then maybe the Quicksilver in there would. Maybe that's what they thought of leaving Quicksilver out. It just would have been just too much going on. Too much when we're actually trying to get like this moment between White Vision and Vision, which is way doper that I thought was great, and then the end moment between Vision and Wanda, of course, and then the fight between Agnes and Wanda. I think those three things going on, and with Sword coming in as well. There was just so much going on that I don't think they had time to flesh out all those fights at once. But we did get the end credit scenes, right, where we see Matthew, like you said, the agent turns into a scroll. She says that somebody upstairs wants to meet her, and obviously she's talking about Nick Fury, right? Because at the end of, I believe, Captain Marvel, we see Nick Fury up in space, and he's up working in this huge compound, and it's basically Sword in space, and that's where Monica's going. So yeah, it's all leading into Captain Marvel pretty awesomely, I think. And then after that, we get another bonus scene, and this is the juice right here, guys. This is where I have a lot of questions and where we might see the lead into Multiverse of Madness, right? So Wanda's out in a secluded area. She's in a cabin, and it's a lot reminiscent of the Hulk when he's kind of secluded out there and he's just trying to figure himself out. So Wanda's out here. She's by herself. She's making tea. We get to zoom into the room behind her, and she's basically in very Doctor Strange fashion. She's reading the Darkhold book, and she's in her full Scarlet Witch outfit. She then hears the screams of her children, and her eyes light up, and we get the end, right? So this leads us to: is my fucking Fisto gonna be in this shit in the future? Is he gonna be, is that who has the kids? The kids are screaming. Why are they still screaming out for help? Like, is this just in Wanda's head? What is going on? Hector, what do you think is going on right there, bro?
Mephisto or Riot. Okay, I think that has been circulating for a long time. Mephisto or Riot. Honestly, I'm not too sure what to make from that scene in terms of trying to figure out if we have like a bigger player in all this. I think that my initial thought after seeing that scene was that this is how she ends up in the Multiverse of Madness. Like, she's trying to look for her kids because somehow she thinks they're alive somewhere, or they're active in some realm, and she goes find them. And it could very well be that it is maybe someone else putting the string and just kind of using the voices of her kids to lure her in, right? So that was my only takeaway, that it was either someone was fooling her to do some pretty crazy things and start some crazy stuff, and she ends up somewhere where she has no idea where she is, and then we jump into Doctor Strange. It is important to note, though, Feige admitted that this show ties in directly to Doctor Strange 2. Directly. Yep. Not like maybe, not like, oh, we're hinting. No, directly. It's a link. So I think this was the link.
Okay. Right. Gio, any thoughts?
Yeah, so I don't know much about like the magic aspect of Marvel, like when it came to Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch, but to me it looked like she was doing some like black magic shit, like she's evil or something. That was the imagery, right, that is being put off. But it might like answer one of my other gripes with the show, in that like Wanda comes off like what she did at the Hex, right, was sort of fucked up. Right, she like took control of all these people, and these people have regular lives, and they try to show that a little bit, but at the end, Monica says that she says that these people will never know what you gave up, right? To try to like hammer home that like maybe it's not her fault, or like she's in the right for doing it, But I don't like if you actually think about it, I don't think she is in the right for doing that. And so if she is like gonna turn like start doing like evil shit, and this is like the beginning of it, then that'd be kind of cool. If not, then it makes the show like the script, the writing not that great, you know.
Yeah, I think I want to push back on that a little bit and say that I think that what she said when she said that, she meant that like, bro, she gave up a perfect life, right? She created a perfect life for herself with Vision in it, and all she had to do was control it. I mean, she could literally like just make the hex smaller and just live in that town forever, right? And if nobody would have bothered her or tried to mess with the situation that she had going, it all would have been jelly for a long time, right? So I think, you know, and like Monica says, if I could bring back my mom, in a heartbeat, right? Like if any of us could bring back somebody that we lost, it would be, and you could do it, you had the power to do it, you do it, right? So none of those people would ever understand that, because none of those people have powers, right? They're just regular people that live in Westview, regular life people, and they don't understand, right? And at the same time, they just don't understand that you know, this is the third time that she's had to say goodbye to Vision. Literally the third time. The first time she killed him, she had to save the world. So that's one sacrifice. The second time she saw Thanos do it, and then now she recreated him without even knowing she did it, right? She just had this moment of grief where her power just took over, created this other version of Vision with her own power. You know, now she has to say goodbye to this perfect life that she didn't even know she created, that she was in, right? So I think that she's made quite a few sacrifices, and not only that, you know, the war in her childhood that took her parents, right? Like she's constantly losing, taking L's all day long, right? And this was her only win that she had, and that's why, you know, in my reaction, I'm like, damn, like you kind of want her to keep this because it's all that she has. It's the only chance that she has of being happy, right? Because we don't know what's gonna happen with her and White Vision in the future. Does anybody Matt? You want to respond to any of that?
Yeah, you know, I thought first of all, the whole cabin thing. I know that a lot of people like were, you know, making connections. It kind of reminded me of Logan. And was that X-Men Origins where he's up in the fucking mountains somewhere, kind of just secluded away from everything?
Yeah,
that's what it brought back for me.
Yeah, good.
So I don't know if, you know, they did that on purpose. Probably not. But I thought it was kind of cool because that's where my mind went. As far as like Hector said, Feige has already said that WandaVision directly leads into Doctor Strange 2, right? It's very clear that she has figured out a way to astrally project herself, right? Because she's doing the same shit with that Darkhold that Doctor Strange did when he was learning his sorcery, right? It's the same thing. Okay. Now it goes to kind of what Gio was saying. What is she learning how to do, though? You know what I mean? Because it could be that, you know, is it a big bad that's controlling, that's trying to manipulate Wanda into learning all this dark magic? Or is it because we know that Wanda is a Nexus being, right? She's among all realities. And we know that the multiverse is multiple realities. And in some reality, her kids must exist, right? And is she hearing those cries legitimately? And is she using that book to figure out a way to save them? So I thought is a really interesting link. And how is Doctor Strange going to align with Wanda? Or is he going to realize that, you know, she's bad news, kind of what Agatha was telling her, that, you know, you don't know what you've unleashed, right? And is Doctor Strange going to be the one to stop her? You know, I think it's a really interesting possibility that they've created. You know.
Yeah, Gio.
Yeah, so if that's the case, that would be cool to watch. If Wanda is in fact turning to like the fact that she's gone through so much like heartache and like loss, it kind of justifies the fact that she was radicalized and joined Ultron right in his fight, and then did. Which I still think that what she did with the Hex and taking control of all these people was fucked up, and should be like she's not like answering for her her wrongs, right, in the show. And if it goes on, like if it continues on to have Doctor Strange like have her answer for what she did, then that'd be awesome, and I would be all for it.
Yeah. You know, like the direct tie, of course, like you start seeing it just because now that we have so many characters, right? You're like, okay, these are the magic characters, these are the space characters, right? These are the ground characters, these are the Wakandans, we have so much. So these are the scrolls, right? This is sword, this is shield, this is, now we have the Loki season coming, and they have the TVA, right? The Time Variance Authority. So we just have like all this crazy stuff going on, right? That has to do with each other and stuff breaking and realities like clashing, and it's all exciting to see. And 9 days from now, right, we get the series premiere of Falcon and Winter Soldier. It's gonna be good times. It's gonna be great times. Dude, it's been awesome talking to you guys about WandaVision. Does anyone want to add anything before we call it?
I want to go back to what I want to take Gio's side on this when he said that Wanda pretty much held the whole town hostage.
Okay, you think she was acting wrong?
Yeah, that was a wrong on her part. Like she could have just done her little hex in her own house, right? But I guess she needed a little bit more to kind of full vision to think that everything's good and dandy. I get that part, but also, I mean, even though this might bug some people, like, well, did she just get to walk away freely? Yeah, she did. Why? Well, you didn't just see what happened. Like you
try to stop her.
Right?
Like even Monica was all. I don't think Monica was siding with her the whole time. She was just saying, she was telling, Howard, like, what are you gonna do? Like you plan on beating her? Like how? Without even knowing that they have white vision. But with that side apart, there was no way of trying to incarcerate her or hold her accountable. But I still think that, yeah, she was in the wrong to do that. Just wanted to say that. So,
okay. Yeah, I mean, I didn't say that she was right. I'm just saying that, when you have an outburst of grief like that, and you have the power of Mind Stone and Scarlet, you're the chosen Scarlet Witch, what the fuck do you think is going to happen?
Right.
It's out of your control, right? It's just too much fucking power, right? This is like what was happening with the Phoenix, right? The Phoenix and the X-Men was just too fucking powerful, and it just took over, right? Some of these characters are just too beast, and you can't like Monica said, she could have made she quarantined it within Westview. And it could have been a lot worse, and they did make it a lot worse when they aggravated her, right? She's just like, all right, fuck you guys, I'm gonna extend this for miles and miles and miles, and fuck what you guys think. So yeah, when you have a Nexus being, you don't poke the bear. That's really what it is. Yeah, man, I'm excited to see the new stuff. I'm excited to talk to you guys about Falcon and Winter Soldier when it comes out, and if we ever get to see Black Widow. I don't know when that's coming out. That's been coming out for like the past year and a half. So yeah, guys, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for joining us. This is Discussion Lounge, the WandaVision review. Exit out, guys.
Cheers.